I'm going to talk a little bit about the offshore wind, just purely from what we've picked up from information on the web, from the government, from the company that's looking at it. The reason I'm doing it is we invited Mark Leybourne to come, but he was unavailable. So we didn't want to ignore this, so we're going to put some information out, but it's fairly limited. But it's what we understand. So I think when you look at any offshore wind project, it really needs to be driven by the customer that's buying the electricity. So before we get moving too far, it'll be very important to understand, does Europe really need this? Are they prepared to get behind it before we go too far into it? And we'll hear from some of our energy experts. So that's just a comment that I'm sure the government is aware of, but we all need to be concerned with, that energy is always driven by the customer. Who's buying it, who's behind it, what's driving it, and is that actually in place? Do they really need it? And when we're talking about energy to France, they have their own sources. So recognize that you're providing into another customer who's also providing, so that can add some tension. Any project, first of all, you need to identify, is there some areas that work? And I think that work's already been done, and you'll see some information on that. Then I suspect what you do is you'd auction off the land. So there's, in effect, what the government's going to be seizing is the opportunity to make income from leasing out that land. So, there's a revenue stream that could come with this. And wherever it goes, you need to look at it and say, that might be some money in our pocket. Now, how good is the money and where it comes, the time will determine. That's a process that you have to go forward. So you go to an auction, figure all that stuff out. Then there's the implementation, which is probably 5+ years to actually install these wind turbines, get them up and running, so it takes some time. There's the impacts. I've talked about the income side of it. The negative impacts, potentially it's going to impact France. They could view this as positive or negative, but you're going to be impacting their market, the environment. There's questions about the visual impact, the wildlife. We've all heard about birds and things like that. And you're going to impact the boat transportation to some degree, fishing and boating concerns. So in other words, it's not just simply you're going to get some money, but it's real. This is income, and we've heard that Jersey needs to get some income. So we need to take that into consideration as well. Here's just a picture of that we got from public information on the scale that they're looking at. They're looking at 1,000 megawatts of electricity generation. That's way more than what Jersey needs. And the reason it's that size is you need a material size, or there's economy of scale. You can't say, well, let's just do what Jersey would need, because the price would be much higher because it's not a big enough scale. So I think that's why they've gone to this. This is a practical size if you're going to make it work and something's going to happen. But we'll hear later about how viable that may or may not be from some of the people who've been studying wind farms around the world. So here's the implementation. In principle, support from the government. They've got to decide the legal and policy framework side of it, and I'm not sure if it's finalized, but I'm sure you're working on all that sort of stuff. Then there's the leasing and consent and going to bid, and then you got to put it in place. So that's kind of, if this moves ahead, what it would look like. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of some of our background information. I'm not prepared to answer questions because I'm not an expert in this. We are going to hear some discussions from some of our energy experts on this, and I think they have some important things to say. That's why we brought them here.